Yo guys, I've got a spark which I'm going to use to ignite the fire for a brand new Skylanders video that will be the 11th day of Skylands. Now I must admit this wasn't the original plan for the 11th day of Skylands, but some recent news has really sparked conversation within the Skylanders community, one of which I felt like I needed to be a part of because there are some new leaks and rumours circulating about a Skylanders Remastered Collection. Now, let me kick things right off the bat and say that I have not believed these leaks since the moment they dropped. The whole thing seems rather sketchy to me, so hence my skepticism. It came from a single Redditor user who claimed to have taken part in some sort of Activision survey gauging interest in the return of the Skylanders franchise, but the fact that this comes from one sole source and not a credible source of that is where my skepticism comes from. We are going to break down this leak and talk about the mindset behind them, why they're releasing things that they are, and how that could have led to further speculation, because ultimately what these leakers do is they drop a snippet of information and then from there they have no more need to work or to try to fool us, because we're already fooling ourselves by speculating and talking about it, which, to be fair, even though these leaks are false, it is nice to have the Skylanders community talking about something again. And it's not just me who's been making videos on this subject, it has been made by dozens of content creators already, including bigger ones such as Blitzwinger. So it is nice to see all that, but don't let these rumours fool you for a moment. Now, I am going to go through and break this down, but I first want to mention about how hilarious the timing of this entire thing is, which is why I'm making this part of the 12 Days of Skylands, because it can follow up upon my State of Skylanders in 2023 video, which is doing really well, by the way. It's almost at 3,000 views. So thank you so much for watching that and responding to it. For the most part, pretty well. The entire point behind that video is that despite the state of Skylanders in 2023 being quite bleak in terms of games, the state of Skylanders in 2023 is actually much more positive, as we have dozens upon dozens of content creators showcasing their passion and dedication towards the franchise, even at this point in its life cycle. The video acts as a means to prove the strength of the Skylanders community and act as an inspiration for those hoping to start up a Skylanders channel. I implore that you do so, because more content creators really does show a clear message that our community is here to stay and we will be supporting Skylanders no matter what. The funniest part is that not even 1 minute into the video I explicitly stated that I'm quite confident we won't be seeing any new Skylanders games this year.
Flashback.
No doubt all of you want me to address my thoughts on a Skylanders 7 or a remaster, especially based on the thumbnail. Right off the bat, I can tell you in confidence that we're most likely not going to receive either of these, at least not this year. But we have plenty of things approaching that give us small snippets of hope.
End of flashback.
Only a couple of days later, these leaks and rumours begin to spread. It instantly made the video feel a little dated, and these leaks and rumours giving people false hope for a new Skylanders game really undershadowed the message of that entire video and what the message it was the video was intending to spread, which is quite unfortunate yet hilarious timing indeed. I'm tired of us being thrown through the ringer as a community. Time and time again, things have crept out of left field that give us hope, only to turn out to be false and shatter our hopes all over again. There are infamous leaks from Skylanders history, such as Series 2 Chopper, Krakatoa, or the Twitter leaker from last year, the Twitter leaker of which had an ounce more credibility than this supposed leak, and look at how that turned out. This is yet another internet troll out looking for internet clout as they entertain themselves by fooling around with us, and evidence would suggest that in the past we can be quite susceptible to these falsehoods, so what better community to fool around with than ours? Given that this comes from one sole Redditor, doesn't make this a reliable source in the slightest, as I alluded to at the beginning of this video, and articles have been written based on these rumours, but once again these aren't sources coming directly from Activision or Toys R Bob, So without word from either of them, I'm going to remain skeptical, and you should too, before you're ultimately let down by another falsehood. But now it's time to get into the real meat of this video. Let's discuss and analyse the situation where this HD Remastered Collection is reality. First of all, it would be awesome to get some sort of new Skylanders game. It would boost the size and interest within the community. The nostalgic kick from playing these games again on a current gen console in full HD would obviously be nice for all our mental health, giving us time to escape our world and have a blast re-experiencing the Skylanders world in a new and upgraded format. I certainly would welcome that, which is why I sincerely hope I'm wrong about the entire thing, though I don't think Swap Force particularly needs a remaster. It was a PlayStation 4 launch title, meaning it can still be played on a PlayStation 5 or an Xbox Series X. Plus, it still looks incredible even to this day. Last of Us Part 1 has received a lot of negative feedback based on the fact that it's a glorified remaster and not a remake. They charged full price for a game we've already experienced, but now it's got a brand new coat of paint. Yes, it certainly does look better, but given The Last of Us Remastered on PlayStation 4 already looked stellar and could be played on a PlayStation 5 as well, it just emphasised the obvious greed behind that game. Skylanders is already notorious for its cash grabbing tactics, as these games made sure you bought additional figures as there was locked content, and the developers of the game crammed so much of this additional locked content behind these characters. Trap Team got so excessive with what you needed to get just to 100% the game that you needed to take out a second mortgage just for that game alone. So if you combine a franchise already known to milk every bit of cash from your wallet with a practice within the industry also known for its greedy type nature, and you have a potent combination for gamers all over the globe to vent their frustrations over and cast a huge negative light over the Skylanders franchise. The Last of Us came out in 2013 and didn't need a remake or a remaster. Swap Force is technically even newer than that. If there was to be a remaster, I would only want it for Spyro's Adventure and Giants. Graphically, they're the two most dated games, and the newest consoles there are the PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360, with the exception of the Wii U of course, but we don't talk about the Wii U. So upgrading those to the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X, two consoles which are two entire generations after, makes much more sense and would be less likely to infuriate audiences, as these games would be welcome in this format and you'd truly feel the difference, because there is a massive jump and upgrade that can be made to these games, unlike Swap Force, which is pretty much there already. Given that we're approaching the 10-year anniversary of Skylanders Swap Force, I suppose the Redditor starting this chain of rumours felt as though a remaster containing this game specifically would seem the most credible, but I won't let those factors slip past me so easily. But not everyone has consoles dating back to the PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360. Skylanders being available on newer consoles also helps make it available to newer audiences. Nothing bad can come from drawing in new people so they can grow to love the franchise as we do. Is another credible reason behind this leak, as well as the fact that this wouldn't be the first time we saw Activision franchises return. Crash Bandicoot and Spyro also got their respective remasters, but this is an entirely different scenario, as those games date back even further than Spyro's Adventure. They're remasters of PlayStation 1 games from the 90s, bringing them back after 2 decades provides for opportunities for a large amount of graphical upgrades. And if those kids who grew up with those games are now 20 years older, running their own lives with their careers, and what's a better way to escape an evening than to relive your childhood games and become immersed in a world unlike our own? These games are also providing players without consoles that dated all the way back to a PlayStation 1 a chance to finally experience these games in a manner they're more accustomed to. When we've been playing modern games for so long, it's hard to go back to games as old as these and still enjoy them, but now playing these games for the first time can be just as magical as children experiencing them for the first time in the 90s, so between drawing in new players and nostalgic players of the original, it's no wonder how these games turn into such massive successes. And I suppose the success behind these games is what the leaker thinks will make people believe that Activision would make the same push for Skylanders. But again, the franchise is new enough to where you don't quite have the people seeking nostalgia for something they haven't played for 20 years and wish to re-experience, and newer players can still remember Skylanders and enjoy it in the same way as we did, for it's not quite aged enough yet to be considered in need of updating. Therefore, the argument for this dual audience crumbles, as the game couldn't really reach the full potential of either audiences at this time specifically. Crash Team Rumble also comes out later this year, and can you seriously be expected to see two games coming from Toys for Bob whilst they're also working on Call of Duty still? Our best hope for Skylanders at this point is to see a few characters of the franchise pop up alongside Crash and Spyro in the Crash Team Rumble game. Even then, we'd be lucky to see just that, let alone a new Skylanders game. But getting back on track about what this entire video was scripted for, let's talk about the idea of a Skylanders Remaster going completely digital. It makes total sense, as producing figurines and distributing them has become much more difficult than it was back in Skylanders Prime. Physical stores will be less likely to take shipments after all this time has passed, and fuel costs continue to increase, making these figurines very difficult to even get to stores to be sold. Skylanders would have to adapt a digital-only model, but that begs the question, would they give us all the characters digitally, or do we still have to pay for them like digital characters in a DLC pack? We don't want these games to seem like the same greed-fueled cash cow of years prior, so I'd hope they would adopt the Disney Infinity model and release with the characters pre-installed and free to access. And by the characters I obviously mean all of them. The fact this happened to Disney Infinity is another thing the leaker no doubt believed that we would add as facts towards our speculation in favour for credibility behind this game. He simply dropped the bait, so we'd be left to do all of the speculation, theory crafting and hype generation on our own accords. It's clearly worked, because here I am speculating about such things, and we're all engaged with a rumour, I will admit. But say that Disney Infinity model being adapted to Skylanders makes so much sense, and I'd want it to take that route to satisfy everyone coming into the franchise via this route. However, I would hate for the true distinguishing factors of this franchise to be lost in their entirety. For me, Skylanders is defined by its Toys to Life features. I would want an alternate mode where you can still get to use the toys. If a Skylanders Remaster wants to capture our longing for nostalgia in full, it needs us to be able to play the games which replicate that childhood memory we're so desperately trying to relive, and that's done via the traditional format in which Skylanders is played. This way, newcomers don't need to scour the internet to acquire second-hand figures just to utilise them in a remaster, but we still get to experience Skylanders as we've always known it, and we're rewarded for holding on to our figurines, for collecting them during the prime of the franchise. Now, if that is the way to attract this dual audience I was talking about earlier. Ultimately, the point I'm making for this video is that a remaster would be far more viable a few more years down the road, when Toys for Bob have less on their plate, when the franchise has reached that age that a remaster could draw in a dual audience, when it could feel like a justified release amongst consumers, so they don't see it as nothing more than yet another cash grab from the Skylanders franchise. I'd only be down for a remaster if it didn't entirely take away from what makes this franchise so special for me on a personal scale. I need something to go alongside the digital model so we can bring our toys to life once again. The game would also need to shed a positive light on the Skylanders franchise so consumers can re-familiarise themselves with the franchise and not be discouraged by any greedy cash grabbing practices. Just remember that this leak is without a doubt in my mind fake. The odds of that fact being wrong are minuscule, but don't let that discourage you. The message from my video addressing the state of Skylanders 2023 still stands. We are a strong community, we don't give up in one another, and we continue to support one another. That's the message to take home today. So that pretty much does it for this discussion topic. I really hope you've enjoyed engaging with today's themes for the video, and if you did, be sure to smash that subscribe button so you can keep up to date with all my content. I'd really appreciate the support, but even then, just having watched the video is support enough for me. Time is very precious, you don't exactly get it back, so you choosing to spend your time watching more of my videos is a huge honour. I'm humbled every single day by the incredible support I receive from each and every one of you. But that pretty much does it for all of our heartwarming messages, I suppose. It's time for me to conclude with a quick announcement that the 12 days of Skylanders is coming to an end today, because I managed to miss out on the daily uploads for the last 3 days of Skylanders. Grr, I was so close to actually finishing a series as intended for once, but that's why we had 3 entire videos today. We had the top 10 drop a couple of hours ago, and this premieres literally an hour before the stream that will conclude this entire series. So at 8 PM UK time today, shortly after this premiere is concluded, I will be streaming for 2 hours straight the Skylanders Superchargers Soul Seeker series. It will be the 4th episode, where I will also announce the giveaway winner for the Christmas roulette from the first day of Skylanders, mind you. So be sure to check out that stream, and I can't wait to see you there. But with that having been said and done, it's time to roll that outro. Without further ado, I cannot in good conscience end off this video without first thanking all of my incredible channel members whose continued support help make these videos possible. Without them, these videos would be near impossible to make, so from the bottom of my heart, I truly appreciate every last one of them. If you enjoyed this video and would like to see more, there are plenty of options on screen now to explore, and please consider subscribing to keep up to date with all my content. On that note, this video is coming to an end, so thank you so much as always for watching. Until the next video arises, peace!